Oh, Chief, how much of a win is this for the club to keep hold of Alex for the next 3 years?
I think it's a fantastic move by the club to lock him down for an extended period of time. I think he's already shown promise in the first 2 games of the season. We're also building on his past performances over the last couple of years, showing a lot of promise. Now the question is whether he can hold that consistency and keep that level of performance for every game. He's a young player, so I think there's going to be some ups and downs in his timing goals, but it looks promising at the moment.
Yeah, because with an Auckland team coming in, do you have to identify the players you want to keep a bit earlier than you previously would, do you think?
I think if you rush the process, then you can make mistakes. For us, it's every time we make a decision on a player, we're very deliberate. We take our time. We make sure that we tick all our boxes. So the fact that they've come in, I don't think really puts a lot of pressure on us. We've signed quite a number of players already, and we go through the same process every time. So I feel like even though there might be that extra team that comes in, we're pretty much locked down the players that we want.
Yeah, and is this just one more thing he won't have to worry about now, that if you want to have a consistent season, he won't have to worry about his contract in the future? Well,
I think it helps him. It helps us in terms of planning. But the thing is as well, for every player that starts, there's also a player that's underneath him ready to challenge, right? So he still has to perform. But it does help that he knows that his future's here for the next couple of years.
Can I just ask about the Black Knights or the Auckland team, whatever they're going to be called?
Sure.
I mean, it's unrealistic to think that all your players would stay, right? Like, you've got a monopoly on all the Kiwi talent, another Kiwi club coming in. Mm-hmm. You're going to lose players at some point that either put their hand up to say they want to go. Is that how you're thinking about it, or...?
Look, to be fair, I haven't really put a lot of thought into it because they're still not in existence, right? So until it becomes reality, then we worry about it. But there's also a massive player pool in Auckland, and if they're serious about being a club that is a representation of their area, I think they would pick players from that region first and then work towards our academy after, if we haven't signed those players. Is it natural that players want to move? Yes, it's normal. It's especially players that live up in or are from Auckland, maybe the allure of going back home, it's normal. But for me, there's still a lot of movement before we even get to those conversations.
Yeah, so I guess as well, it's like not about being frightened of it or being, make it a scary prospect or whatever. I can't really find the words. It's about understanding that it's this player.
It's part and parcel. Like, so the monopoly that you speak about is unique. If you look at the landscape when I was at Sydney FC, for example, there were 4 or 5 academies all competing for the same players, and those players move. It's normal. It's natural. And sometimes it's going to happen. If what you look many years from now, it might be there are some players at the Auckland Academy don't get an opportunity to come to us and they flourish, and it can work the other way as well. It's never a written rule. I was just going to say, fans at Wellington should prepare themselves to the fact that there are players that might end up playing for Auckland. Whether it can happen, but like I said, I think we've locked down the players that we think, or we've identified for the next couple of years in this cycle that we feel have the potential. You can't sign all the players, unfortunately. It's there's a massive pool base in New Zealand, and there are some going to miss out. And the good thing about this expansion team is that those players will get an opportunity. We might be at a loss, but it's the reality of football. And just one final one for me. How's Jack Duncan? Because obviously he's an experienced player. He hasn't, it seems like Alex is the number one. He started so far. He's got this new deal. So he, understood his role. No, he's the ultimate professional. I can say, in terms of leadership in the group, the way he conducts himself from day to day. Even the other week when I gave the boys a day off after their game, he was training. He's motivated. He understands. Look, football. 24 hours in football is a long time, so anything can happen. There can be an injury, there can be suspension. It's more about having that mindset and the professionalism that if the opportunity does arise, that he's willing to take it and he's mentally ready. Whereas some people don't have that mentality. He's very good with that.
With the new franchise, could we see sort of longer term deals become more of a trend from you guys looking to secure your players like we've seen?
Well, I think you've seen that already with like Lucas Kelly-Hill, his extended deal, Finn Conchi, Luke Supek. All these boys have been given an extended contract, but that's also a reflection of our faith in that those are the players for the future. And I think longer contracts gives those players stability. It also gives you the stability as from a coaching point of view that you can build on something there, so you can be patient. So I think it's a mix.
Would you like to see loyalty from those academy players that you want to keep, when they do have options on the table?
You would like loyalty, but sometimes, unfortunately, young kids get itchy feet, and I think it's more to do with the influence of the agents. Not all agents are good. Some agents are, they tempt the players and give them a false sense of security, or they give them the wrong advice, and I feel like sometimes that is a big issue. I think the good agents are the ones that keep those players grounded and say, look, if you're in a good place, stay there because you'll get the opportunity. And I think we're building that environment.
Now, let's just mention Ben Old there. Is he sort of on the cards to look to secure long-term?
Well, we're speaking to Ben Old at the moment. I've been involved with Ben Old now for a number of years. He's a great talent. You saw his ability on the weekend. Now it's just up for him to decide where his future lies. For me, I like to think that we're providing a really good environment for young players and give them an opportunity and where they can flourish. And then we kind of hope that what we're doing here is also setting up those talents to go overseas as well. And being international players. Yeah.
Alex has obviously had a great start to the season. Was there a moment where you thought we need to sign this guy on for the next couple of years?
I probably thought that a couple of years ago. I thought he was a long-term investment then. It was just more about giving him the opportunity to play. He's fairly young. I mean, I don't think there's a younger keeper than him at the moment. And he's repaying in his performances the belief that we had in him. I think that, again, the three-year contract ties him up, gives him that stability to move forward, and it's a reflection of his ability.
It's another young Kiwi player that you've signed. It's kind of becoming your mantra a little bit to sign these younger academy players. How important is it to you to continue to do this?
I think it's very important. I think a club is about. I think ultimately, if you look at all the successful clubs, and I use Barcelona, it's very cliche, but they have a production line through their academy. If you go anywhere in Holland as well, it's a bit of a niche, between all their academies to produce their own players that come from their own academy, that come through 13, 14, 15. I think it's just logical. I think it's not the longevity of a club if you have to keep relying on new players to come in because other ones aren't performing and you're in that vicious cycle. It doesn't tee up for long-term success. So what I'm hoping for here is that we build a foundation over. It might not happen in my tenure, but it might happen after 4 to 6 years where the basis of 90% of the squad come through the academy, and because they played together for so long, then allows us to actually win the league and perform at a really high level for longer periods.
And just finally, now that Alex has signed this big deal, is there any concerns that he might, just take his foot off the gas a little bit, that he's secured this deal and he might feel comfortable, or is there no concerns there?
Look, I can't speak for Alex. I think from what you've seen, he's very level-headed. He's grounded also in good values. He's got good parents, good family. The thing is, I think, and this is part of strategic planning on our side, it's for either goalkeeper, is that there's natural competition and healthy competition, and that if one drops off, the other one's ready to take their spot. And I think that's healthy. And I think that's what's actually keeping Alex in a good place at the moment. I think if you take that away from him, then you don't know how he reacts to that. But I think he's professional enough that he's got that hunger. I think he really wants this. And I think he wants to take that next step when it presents itself in the future.
Before we get to Brisbane,
Sure.
Any injury updates for us? How's David been tracking this week?
Yeah, so Bawley still where he was last week. It's ongoing. We won't know till match day whether it will be available or not. We're kind of hoping that he'll be all right. We could have used him last week, but I felt it was more important just to make sure that we didn't aggravate it.
Would you have brought him on if you needed the goal?
I would potentially, but I also don't want to put the long-term risk of the player I don't want to put him in jeopardy. So I was really mindful. I don't know if that's a good question. Maybe we'll find out this week if we're in the same boat.
Because why do you think he'll get on the bench?
Well, there was still the potential that he did a fitness test on the day, and he said he was all right to play. The physio gave me the A-OK. But I'm also looking down 4 or 5 weeks down the track, right? So the thing is, as much as I would love to have used him for the game, I have to think if I put him in an environment where he can aggravate it again, I could lose him for 4 to 5 weeks. So it's to my detriment. So I have to balance those things. And if I felt like he could have given me something that we needed at the time, I probably would have used him. But in saying that, I'm also thinking about protecting him.
And how happy are you with the start? Because I think if you beat Brisbane as the best start through 3 games or so, the Phoenix tradition have been slow starters.
I assess performance by not results. I look at, there's many things I look at in terms of, like, for example, I've spoken about this from day one, you know, the big thing with us is I want this idea of command, and it's not command with the ball, it's just command in all parts of all phases of the game. Now, if you saw us against Wanderers, I was actually quite pleased with that performance because a lot of the things that we worked on actually were executed quite well, and I felt we were defensively in command in that game. With the ball, maybe not so much. So, irrespective of us winning the game or drawing the game, I was actually happy with that performance. So I thought that was a good performance. The game against Perth, I was happy for about half an hour, and then I felt like certain players could have maybe increased a little bit in terms of the intensity and how they held the ball. And then I think that allowed Perth to get back into the game. I wasn't happy with that. But what I was happy with was at the 70th minute, we were still running, still countering. And then that's what led to the goal. So I was stoked about that. And then I was also stoked about the reaction when Alex saved the penalty, because for me that showed a lot of team spirit and high morale within the group. So those are the sort of gauges that I'm looking at. I always say if we perform well in terms of all those metrics, then the results will come. But I can't guarantee a win or a loss.
Just to finish the injury roundup, if that's okay. We talked about David Ball. Any others come back into contention? Potentially
Suts. We'll make that determination tomorrow, so it might be time off the bench. And if he doesn't, if he's not available for the game, then it'll definitely be next week, I think.